The sun beat down on the dusty trail as the wagon train creaked westward. Families, their faces etched with hope and weariness, dreamt of a new life. Among them was Sarah, a young woman known for her kind heart and unwavering spirit. She helped the children with their chores, shared her water with the thirsty, and always had a smile ready, even when times were toughest. Her bravery shone through in the way she faced every challenge, from mending broken wagon wheels to calming frightened animals. Sarah wasn't just strong. She was clever. She could read maps better than most of the men, and she knew which plants were safe to eat. She dreamed of building a schoolhouse in the new settlement and teaching children to read and write. She believed in the promise of the West, the idea that anyone could make a better life if they worked hard and treated each other fairly. The journey was long and hard. The desert stretched endlessly before them, testing their resolve at every turn. But Sarah never lost hope. She sang songs around the campfire at night, her voice lifting the spirits of the weary travelers. She told stories of brave pioneers and strong women, reminding them of the courage they all possessed. Little did she know, her own bravery would soon be tested in ways she could never have imagined. As the wagon train moved deeper into the territory, tensions began to simmer. The promise of riches, gold, land, and opportunity, that had initially united them now fueled greed and suspicion. Whispers turned into arguments, and arguments into bitter feuds. Some claimed the best land before anyone else, hoarding resources and refusing to share. Others accused each other of cheating and stealing. The water supply dwindled, and the settlers grew desperate. Accusations flew like arrows, poisoning the once harmonious community. Sarah tried to mediate, reminding them of their shared goal and the importance of working together. "We're all in this together," she pleaded. "We need to help each other, not fight." But her words fell on deaf ears. The lure of quick wealth had clouded their judgment, turning neighbors into enemies. One evening, a heated argument erupted over a newly discovered gold vein. Voices rose in anger, fists clenched, and soon a brawl broke out. The scene was chaotic, men wrestling in the dirt, women screaming, and children crying in fear. The very fabric of their community was tearing apart. The dream of a new life was quickly turning into a nightmare. The bonds that once held them together were snapping under the strain of avarice and paranoia. During the chaos of the brawl, a misunderstanding arose. A valuable map said to lead to a larger gold deposit went missing. Fingers pointed, accusations flew, and suspicion landed squarely on Sarah. Someone claimed to have seen her near the map just before it disappeared. The lie spread quickly, fueled by the existing animosity. Sarah, horrified by the accusation, tried to defend herself. "I didn't take anything," she cried. "I was only trying to stop the fighting." But her pleas were ignored. Fear and greed had blinded them to her true character. They saw only a scapegoat, someone to blame for their misfortunes. Driven by a mob mentality, they turned on her. They dragged her away from the wagon train, ignoring her desperate cries for help. They accused her of treachery and theft, refusing to listen to her explanations. Without mercy, they left her in the harsh desert, miles from civilization, with nothing but the clothes on her back. They believed they were ridding themselves of a thief, but in reality, they were abandoning an innocent woman to a slow and agonizing death. The wagon train, now fractured and burdened by guilt, continued its journey westward, leaving Sarah alone under the unforgiving sun. The desert was a cruel mistress. The sun, a relentless eye in the sky, beat down on Sarah, baking the earth and turning the air into a shimmering haze. Thirst clawed at her throat, and her skin burned under the intense heat. She stumbled through the sand, her hope dwindling with each passing hour. Memories of her comfortable life back east flickered through her mind, a painful reminder of what she had lost. Days blurred into a nightmarish cycle of heat, thirst, and exhaustion. She rationed her tears, knowing that every drop wasted was a drop she couldn't afford to lose. She searched desperately for water, digging in dry creek beds and licking dew from desert plants. Sometimes, she saw mirages, shimmering pools of water that vanished as she approached, mocking her desperation. She learned to read the signs of the desert, the flight of birds, the tracks of animals, searching for any indication of water or shelter. She found small lizards and insects, forcing herself to eat them to survive. She built a makeshift shelter from rocks and shrubs, seeking refuge from the scorching sun during the day and the chilling cold at night. Despite the overwhelming odds, Sarah refused to give up. The memory of her dream, the schoolhouse, the children, the promise of a better life, kept her going. She would survive. She had to. High on a rocky ridge, hidden amongst the shadows, an Apache scout watched. His name was Kai, and he was a skilled warrior, a keen observer, and a protector of his people. He moved with the grace of a mountain lion, his eyes sharp and unwavering. For days, he had been tracking the wagon train, wary of their intrusion into his ancestral lands. He had seen the arguments, the violence, and finally the cruel abandonment of the woman. From his vantage point, he witnessed Sarah's struggle for survival, her unwavering determination in the face of death. He saw her kindness, even in her weakened state, as she carefully avoided stepping on small creatures and shared what little water she found with a thirsty bird. Kai was a man of honor and tradition. He understood the harsh realities of the desert, but he also valued compassion and respect. He knew that the settlers often brought trouble, but he also recognized the humanity in this lone woman, struggling to survive against impossible odds. He watched her closely, weighing his options, torn between his duty to protect his people and his growing sense of responsibility towards this lost and vulnerable soul. He saw something special in her, a resilience and spirit that mirrored the strength of his own people. Kai wrestled with his decision. His people had suffered greatly at the hands of the settlers, their lands stolen, their traditions disrespected. To help one of them, even one who had been wronged, felt like a betrayal to his ancestors. Yet, he couldn't shake the image of Sarah's unwavering spirit, her refusal to surrender to the desert's cruelty. He consulted with the elders of his tribe, seeking their wisdom. Some argued against intervention, warning of the dangers of associating with the settlers. Others saw the spark of humanity in Sarah, a potential for understanding and perhaps even peace. Ultimately, Kai made his own choice. He believed that true strength lay not only in protecting his people but also in showing compassion and offering help to those in need, regardless of their origin. He decided to rescue Sarah, not as a representative of the settlers, but as a fellow human being deserving of kindness. He knew it was a risk, a decision that could have unforeseen consequences, but he trusted his instincts and his heart. He would help her survive, and then he would decide what to do next. His decision was made, and he prepared to descend from the ridge. The fate of both Sarah and Kai's people hung in the balance. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the desert, Kai approached Sarah. She was barely conscious, her lips cracked and bleeding, her eyes glazed with exhaustion. He knelt beside her, offering her water from his canteen. She looked at him with suspicion and fear, unsure of his intentions. He spoke to her in a gentle voice, using the few words of English he knew. "Water," he said, offering the canteen again. Hesitantly, she accepted, drinking deeply. He then lifted her gently, carrying her in his arms. She was light as a feather, her body weakened by days of starvation and dehydration. He carried her for miles, through the darkness, guided by the stars. Finally, they reached his village, nestled in a hidden canyon. The Apache women greeted them with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. They took Sarah from Kai's arms, carrying her to a cool, shaded dwelling. They bathed her, dressed her in clean clothes, and offered her nourishing food and herbal remedies. Sarah, overwhelmed by their kindness, drifted into a deep, healing sleep, finally safe from the dangers of the desert. The Apache women watched over her, tending to her needs, unsure of what the future held but determined to help her recover. As Sarah regained her strength, she began to learn about the Apache way of life. Everything was different from what she knew. The Apache lived in harmony with nature, respecting the land and its resources. They were skilled hunters and gatherers, knowing how to find food and water even in the harshest conditions. Their homes were simple but sturdy, built from natural materials and designed to withstand the elements. The language was strange and melodic, filled with sounds she had never heard before. The customs were unfamiliar, the way they dressed, the ceremonies they performed, the stories they told around the campfire. The women were strong and independent, skilled in crafts and healing. They taught Sarah how to weave baskets, grind corn, and identify medicinal plants. Sarah, in turn, tried to share her own knowledge and customs, but it was difficult. The cultural gap seemed vast, a chasm separating two different worlds. She missed her books, her writing, and the familiar comforts of her old life. But she also began to appreciate the simplicity and beauty of the Apache way, their deep connection to the earth, and their strong sense of community. She realized that there was much she could learn from them, if only she was willing to open her heart and mind. Communication was a challenge, but Sarah and Kai found ways to understand each other. He patiently taught her Apache words, and she, in turn, shared her English vocabulary. They used gestures, drawings in the sand, and shared experiences to bridge the language gap. As Sarah learned more about Kai, she discovered his deep respect for nature, his unwavering loyalty to his people, and his quiet strength. She saw the burden he carried, the responsibility of protecting his tribe from the encroaching settlers. She admired his wisdom and his courage. Kai, in turn, was impressed by Sarah's willingness to learn, her resilience in the face of adversity, and her genuine kindness. He saw that she was different from the other settlers he had encountered, that she possessed a good heart and a strong sense of justice. He trusted her, and that trust grew with each passing day. They shared stories of their pasts, their hopes for the future, and their fears. Slowly, a bond formed between them, a connection built on mutual respect, understanding, and a shared humanity. It was a friendship that transcended cultural differences, a bridge between two worlds. One evening, as they sat by the campfire under a sky full of stars, Kai spoke to Sarah in his native tongue. His words were translated by one of the elders who knew some English. He spoke of his admiration for her strength and courage, her kindness and compassion. He spoke of the respect he had for her, and the bond that had grown between them. Then he made a proposal. He asked her to become his wife, to join him in his life, and to become a part of his people. He explained that in Apache tradition, marriage was a sacred union, a partnership built on respect, loyalty, and a shared commitment to the community. He wasn't asking her to forget her past, but to embrace a new future, a future where they could work together to build a better world for both their peoples. Sarah was stunned. She had never imagined such a thing. She cared deeply for Kai, but marriage was a different matter. It was a commitment, a lifelong promise. She needed time to think, to consider the implications of such a decision. The weight of her past, the uncertainty of her future, and the complexity of their cultural differences weighed heavily on her heart. The campfire crackled, the stars twinkled, and Sarah knew she faced a choice that would change her life forever. Sarah spent days in contemplation, seeking guidance from the Apache women and reflecting on her past experiences. She remembered the betrayal by the settlers, the cruelty she had endured, and the loss of her dreams. She also remembered the kindness she had received from strangers, the hope that had kept her alive, and the unexpected friendship she had found with Kai. She weighed the differences between her world and the Apache world, the challenges of adapting to a new culture, and the uncertainty of the future. But she also saw the potential for a new beginning, a chance to build a life based on love, respect, and understanding. She realized that her old life was gone, that she could never truly return to the world she once knew. The desert had changed her, stripping away her illusions and revealing her true self. She had learned the value of resilience, the importance of community, and the power of compassion. She looked deep into her heart and found a growing love for Kai, a deep respect for his people, and a desire to contribute to their well-being. She knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but she was ready to face it, hand in hand with the man she had come to love. With a newfound sense of purpose, Sarah approached Kai. Standing tall, she looked into his eyes, her own filled with love and determination. Using the Apache words she had learned, she spoke her answer. She told him that she accepted his proposal, that she would be honored to become his wife and a member of his community. A wave of joy washed over the village. The Apache women embraced her, welcoming her into their fold. Kai's face radiated happiness. He took her hand, and together they walked to the center of the village, where the elders awaited them. The wedding ceremony was simple but meaningful, filled with ancient traditions and heartfelt blessings. Sarah and Kai exchanged vows, promising to love, honor, and protect each other for the rest of their lives. They pledged to work together to build a strong and prosperous community, a place where both Apache and settlers could live in peace and harmony. As the sun set, casting a golden glow over the canyon, Sarah knew she had made the right decision. She had found a new home, a new family, and a new purpose in life. She was no longer just Sarah, the woman left for dead in the desert. She was now Sarah, wife of Kai, and a member of the Apache people. However, their happiness was not without its challenges. News of Sarah's marriage to Kai spread quickly among the settlers, fueling prejudice and fear. Some saw it as a betrayal, a sign that she had turned against her own people. Others viewed it as a threat, a sign that the Apache were becoming too powerful. Rumors circulated, exaggerating the truth and inciting hatred. Some settlers demanded that Sarah be returned, claiming she had been kidnapped. Others called for an attack on the Apache village, seeking revenge and territorial expansion. Kai and Sarah knew that they faced a difficult situation. They understood the fear and misunderstanding that fueled the settlers' prejudice. They also knew that they had a responsibility to protect their community and to bridge the gap between two cultures. They resolved to face the challenges together, using their knowledge, their compassion, and their unwavering commitment to peace to overcome the prejudice and build a better future for all. The path ahead would be fraught with danger, but they were determined to walk it together, side by side. The peace they sought would not come easily. Sarah, drawing upon her knowledge of both cultures, devised a plan. She knew that violence would only lead to more violence, and that understanding was the key to overcoming prejudice. She volunteered to travel to the nearby settlements, to speak with the leaders and the people, to share her story and to explain the Apache way of life. Kai, initially hesitant, eventually agreed. He trusted Sarah's judgment and admired her courage. He sent a small delegation of Apache warriors with her, not as a show of force, but as a symbol of peace and goodwill. Sarah spoke eloquently and passionately, sharing her experiences with the settlers, describing the kindness and compassion she had found among the Apache. She explained their respect for the land, their commitment to community, and their desire for peace. She challenged their prejudices, urging them to see the Apache not as savages, but as fellow human beings. Her words had a powerful impact. Some settlers remained skeptical, clinging to their prejudices. But others listened with open hearts and minds, recognizing the truth in her words and the sincerity of her intentions. Slowly, a dialogue began. A bridge was built, and the seeds of understanding were sown. Sarah's bravery and her unwavering commitment to peace had begun to make a difference. Years passed. Sarah and Kai worked tirelessly to foster understanding and cooperation between the Apache and the settlers. They established a trading post where both communities could exchange goods fairly. Sarah, remembering her dream, started a small schoolhouse, teaching children from both cultures to read, write, and learn about each other's traditions. There were setbacks and challenges, moments of doubt and despair. But Sarah and Kai never gave up on their vision of a peaceful and harmonious future. They faced each obstacle with courage, wisdom, and unwavering love for each other and their community. Slowly, the prejudices began to fade, replaced by respect and understanding. The Apache and the settlers learned to live side by side, sharing the land and its resources, working together to build a better future for their children. Sarah, once left for dead in the desert, had found a new life, a new purpose, and a new family. She had become a bridge between two worlds, a symbol of hope and peace in a land torn apart by conflict. Her journey had been long and arduous, but it had led her to a place where she truly belonged. And so, the story of Sarah, the woman left for dead, became a legend. It was told around campfires, passed down through generations, a reminder of the power of compassion, the importance of understanding, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The schoolhouse that Sarah had built continued to thrive, educating children from both cultures, fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose. The trading post became a symbol of cooperation, a place where people could exchange goods and build relationships based on trust and respect. Kai and Sarah's love story became an inspiration to others, a testament to the fact that differences could be overcome, that bridges could be built, and that peace was always possible, even in the most challenging of circumstances. Though challenges remained, and the world was far from perfect, Sarah and Kai had created a small corner of it where people could live together in harmony, respecting each other's differences and celebrating their shared humanity. And that, in itself, was a victory worth celebrating. Their legacy lived on, a beacon of hope for a better future, a future where everyone could find a place to belong.